Make yourself at home.
Hello, everybody. Welcome, and thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Jo. I'm head of the Health Recruitment team over here in New Zealand, and this is Robyn.
Hi, I'm the recruitment consultant for health, working alongside Jo and two others in our team as well, Gina and Jane.
Oh, And so, look, we appreciate you all taking time out of your day. I know that everybody's very busy. You know, the health sector at the moment is so much going on with all the shortages globally. And I know there's a lot of people from the UK on the webinar this morning. So our thoughts go out to those. I believe you've been striking today and also will be tomorrow. And so I really do hope that you all get what you deserve from the strike action. So we'll look, obviously you're here to hear all about New Zealand and being a nurse in New Zealand, how you can get here and how to get prepared. And so Robyn and I were first just going to share a little bit of information about ourselves and our business. And then we're going to cover some topics, including how to get prepared, where to live in New Zealand. We'll include some information about getting registered, how to go about securing a job and how we can help you, a little bit about visas, and then what those next steps are. So please do stay with us the whole time. We've got 30 minutes, which will go very quickly. And so please know that we will be sharing a recording of the video if you do miss anything. Also, we've got the chat. One of the health team, Jane, is managing the chat. So please do feel free to pop your questions. If we don't get to your question, please, again, don't worry because we will do a follow-up email with that. So that's the sort of housekeeping bit. But we thought just, Robyn, do you want to just tell everybody just a little bit about yourself and what you like about New Zealand?
Sure thing. So as I said, I'm the recruitment consultant here. So I'm the person that you deal with once you come on board with working in. I've got around, I think, between 15 and 20 years experience in recruitment, and most of that has been international recruitment. So I've worked in 3 markets globally, transferring candidates around the world. So it's exciting being in the health sector. I really enjoy it. And I work quite closely alongside Gina, who is our candidate manager. So she is a ex-nurse from the UK actually, and she helps you come on board, interviews you, talks to you, and then once you're all ready to go, I take over to assist you getting a job. So obviously you'll hear from my accent that I am a native from New Zealand, but I have lived in various other countries, but it's great to be living at home. We're currently enjoying summer, so lots of sunshine peeking in behind Jo there around the blinds. Yeah, so we're a great close-knit team working well together, and obviously we're usually in the office all discussing what's going to be the best option for people such as yourselves making the move over here. It's great.
That's right. Thanks, Robyn. Yeah, we do work very closely together. We're all very like-minded. I moved to New Zealand myself 22 years ago, so you might just detect a tiny English accent. And I'm certainly living the New Zealand life at the moment because I'm actually at a batch by the beach. And so I've taken a little break to do this webinar. And as I was just saying to Robyn, my laptop's sitting on a game of Risk, a was jig puzzle, and another game to kind of and so it's kind of how we roll. You know, we do really embrace that work-life balance. It does still exist in New Zealand. Of course, yes, we all work hard, but we do appreciate that's important. So, okay, well, that's probably enough about us. You know, we're here to help you. We're here to kind of serve you, I guess, really in your move. But firstly, just a quick, just so you understand our business. Um, just getting something to work here. Here we go. So this is the team that we just talked about. So Robyn, myself, Gina, and Jane. So there's 3 things that we do as a business. One of them is obviously health recruitment. The other one is we've got a large immigration team, and so they provide lots of advice and support and can do your visa. And we also provide support in relocation. And so if you're obviously looking at using our services, then the great thing is that we can help you right from the beginning, right through to the end of the process, even down to I met a girl, Teresa, the other day. She just moved here, a nurse from the US, and took her for coffee. So right through to that arrival, we've just had actually 8 nurses arrive over the Christmas period, which is awesome. So they've all arrived just in time for summer, which is fantastic. Now I think I've covered all the housekeeping and things like that. Robyn, that's right, isn't it? Should we get on to get stuck into the actual webinar itself?
Definitely.
And I think one thing, if you take anything from this webinar, is that there are extensive opportunities in New Zealand at the moment. So no fear in terms of hopefully being able to sort of secure your job. Also, if you don't already know, there's been a 14% pay rise agreed for nurses, which is expected to come into play from the 7th of March. And also, the other good news is there's a straight-to-residence pathway. So it means once you're in New Zealand, you can apply for residency if that is the pathway that you want to go down. So there's really has never been a better time to move to New Zealand, and we're here to help. So, okay, let's talk about getting prepared. So, Robyn, I think what are the sort of key things that you would do to get started on your plans of moving?
Well, I think the best thing, as Jo has mentioned, is the preparation side, and to get onto that straight away. So if it's something that you're serious about doing, you've already done a bit of research on the internet, had a look at what it's like for living here, may even be looking at certain locations. You may know other people that have already made the move, so it's quite good to have a chat with them. But the most critical thing is to get onto your registration, because this can take a long time. And so if you are thinking, right, yes, that's what I want to do, it can be a bit frustrating if you leave that, because you're sort of looking sometimes 4 to 6 months with that process. So the New Zealand Nursing Council's website is fantastic to go on and have a look. It takes you through the steps. You can go into the international candidates. I think there's actually a complete separate section there for you, and it helps you get started in regards to getting your registration, which the first step is to put an application in to a organisation that's actually based in the US, which verifies all of your documents in regards to where you're currently working and where you've trained. So that would be the first thing you need to get to do. Yeah.
And that throws people, doesn't it, Robyn? Because so they're called the CGFNS, which is a bit of an awkward acronym. But if you go into the Nursing Council, you'll see a link and it will take you straight there. You can't do anything. You can't apply to the Nursing Council itself for registration until you've completed that part. And that is the part that takes quite a long time, because you've got to send, as Robyn said, all your documents in for verification. And that part of the process could take you 3 months. Some people take even longer, just depending on how easy it is to access your license information, get references, get your university credentials over. And so it's really important that you get onto that if you haven't started. And we actually can't help you start the process. We can talk to you, but we can't start the process of helping you secure a job until you've kicked that off. And the other thing to remember about that is if English is not your first language and you are not working in an English speaking country, so for example, if you're in the UK, if you're not in the UK or Ireland or the US or Canada or Singapore, then you will likely have to do an English test. So just bear that in mind. And Singapore, I know we've got some people on here from Singapore, is one of those markets that it is based on if you were educated in Singapore as to whether you need to do an English test. But we still advise everybody to apply for the English test waiver with the CGFNS because sometimes it seems to go through if you've been working in Singapore for quite a long time. So nursing registration, number one, get the CGFNS thing sorted. If you apply for the English test waiver, do an English test if you need to, and get moving on that. The other thing is get your CV sorted. Yes, Robyn. What should people do about their CV, do you think?
Well, definitely while you're getting onto the CGFNS, you can start your CV and get it up to date. CVs don't need to be pages long, sort of 2 pages maximum, I would say. And the important thing is to make it very clear within the reverse chronological order. So the job that you've most recently been doing or currently doing would go first, and then the one prior to that, so forth. Make sure you also list your education and where that was, like Jo mentioned before, where that was obtained, because that obviously does make a difference sometimes, and it's good for employers to see exactly where you've been educated, but as well as your experience. So we really can't do anything without the CV. So that's something you can do now.
That is absolutely right. Yeah, we can't do a consultation with you until we've got a copy of your CV, and we need to be very clearly be able to understand what your experience is. The other thing I was just thinking about that, is obviously doing some research, so understand a little bit about the health system, but that can probably come a little bit further down the track. But I think what I do want to mention here is thinking about the funds and having the money to move. Some people do get sort of further down the track and then think, oh gosh, I don't quite have enough money. And so you really need to think about, have you got that money saved? Yes, we can help secure a relocation allowance for you, and 99% of employers are offering some kind of relocation package. However, that package is not provided until you arrive in New Zealand and can commence employment. So you still need to have the funds to be able to pay for your flight, and if you're paying for any shipping, pay for any rental deposits up front, pay for your visa. So really do need to think about making sure you've got those funds. Otherwise, you're just going to put yourself under pressure at a later stage. Okay, so should we have a look at, Robyn, about where to live in New Zealand? Lots of people ask where the best place to live is.
Yeah, totally. I think a lot of people also sort of get stuck on Auckland because that's where you land. But it's really important to have a look at all cities, or you maybe rather would prefer a smaller town. So there are opportunities there as well. I think probably the best thing is to think about what sort of lifestyle you're wanting, because it is a lifestyle choice moving to New Zealand, and it has so much to offer. So if you're somebody who really loves the outdoors, and that's one of the key reasons why you're wanting to make the move, then you're going to want to look at some locations that allow you to quickly get to the sea if that's your thing, or into the mountains. So yeah, really there's lots of great websites in regards to living in New Zealand and locations to have a scroll through and have a look at. And we can also advise you on some, what it's like living South Island versus North Island and that type of thing.
That's right. Yeah, if you can tell us what lifestyle you're looking for, then we can pinpoint some places for you. Or you might have family or an ex-colleague or something like that. We often find that people say, "Oh, you helped my friend, and she's in New Plymouth," and and we're always sort of hooking people up that are moving and coming to work at the same hospital, for example. So I know a couple of nurses that we helped recently. A few months ago now, they're actually best friends now. They didn't know each other beforehand, but we connected them, and so it's really lovely that we can help with that, building your friend network as well in New Zealand. So the other thing that comes up a lot with that where to live, but also in terms of whether you should move to New Zealand, is is the cost of living. We get asked that a lot, what's the cost of living like? And I do love Robyn's comment here, and I'm going to steal it from you. I'm sorry. Is that it's like comparing apples with pears,
Okay.
because it's sort of, I know, like talking to my brother, he'll say to me, well, my power bill this year is thousands and thousands of pounds, whereas in New Zealand it might be $1,000 a year or $1,500 a year. When you rent in New Zealand, you don't pay any kind of council tax, and so that can add quite a lot on. So when you're looking at rental prices, you might think it sounds more than at home, but actually, um, there's other things that are cheaper in New Zealand. So it's very hard to look at one thing and think it's expensive. It's kind of looking at everything, isn't it, Robyn? What are your thoughts on that?
Totally, because otherwise, like you say, they're not really comparable in a lot of situations. You've also got to look at travel times in regards to, the cost of that in regards to time. So you're perhaps going to have more time outside of work to do the things that you enjoy along, rather than commuting for hours here and there. But yeah, there's obviously differences for cost of living depending on where you do choose to live in New Zealand as well. So, Auckland is the most expensive place to live in New Zealand, and it also, in regards to travel and things, you might be having to commute a lot further than if you lived in a smaller or medium-sized city. So yeah, there's all of that to weigh it, but I think it is really critical not to get too tied up and going, oh, I pay this where I currently am, and it's going to be this in New Zealand, and obviously you've got a completely different system that you're trying to compare. So
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. Okay. I mean, obviously, we could talk for hours on each of these topics, couldn't we? So,
yes.
what we're trying to do is give you a taster in this webinar, and hopefully give you enough to be able to think about it a bit more seriously. But also, then if you want to engage with us further, then obviously send your CV, and we'll send a link at the end, and we can make a time to talk to you. So, I think probably the next most important thing is how you go about securing a job. Um, this is the number one thing that most people sort of immediately jump into when they start thinking about moving to New Zealand. Now, what I would say on that is don't immediately jump into it, because the whole thing is being prepared. If you just take your CV and perhaps it's not up to the standard it needs to be, and you just fire it off to lots of employers, they'll see that, oh, well, they're not in New Zealand. I don't know where they're at with the registration. When are they even moving? Maybe you don't know much about the job. And so the best approach is to, as we said, get prepared. So start your registration, get your CV looking good, know when you want to arrive, have a plan, from start to finish. If you said today, I want to move to New Zealand, and you have a steady approach to getting prepared, then you can be here within in about 6 months. That is really probably the minimum, because people get caught up in their lives. We understand you're busy, so I think, but 6 months, don't you think, Robyn, is a good time frame
Yes. Yeah.
to allow? And it's unrealistic that you'll get here any sooner, unless you've already got your registration, for example, in which case you could be 3 months, something like that. So your CV's done. Maybe you've talked to us and we put a bit of a plan together with you. Um, and it's all about, your best thing to do is transition the skills that you've been using. So if you're an ICU nurse in the UK, or you're a pediatric nurse, then obviously that's what you're going to continue with in New Zealand, because that's where you're going to be most desirable in New Zealand. And it's up to you if you want to apply for jobs directly. If you want to work with us, we recommend you don't do that, because if you have applied to employers directly already, then we can't help you with those specific employers. The reason you might work with us, well, first of all, there's no fee for using our recruitment services. But we are your advocates in the New Zealand market. So we've got relationships all throughout New Zealand, within the public hospital sector, the private hospital community, aged care. What else, Robyn?
Yeah,
That's probably it.
public and private. And I was just going to add to that, Jo, that obviously employers look often at I think this probably happens all of the time, would look at our candidates, pop them to the top of the pile, because they have a relationship with us. They know that everything's been covered. So everything's clear in regards to where people are at with their registration, their visa, when they plan to be here. So it just makes it's easier for the employer. But ultimately, it's easier for you because we take a lot of the stress out of the process, and we can communicate, like Jo said, be your advocate, come back to you, and make sure that you're being seen rather than at the bottom of a pile of 100 applicants. So, it is.
Right.
It really makes it straightforward as it can be.
Yeah. And that's a really good point, Robyn. So we're straight to the hiring manager, and also we manage that whole process. So, helping you with your interview preparation, chasing your contracts, talking with the right people, getting those decisions, and negotiating your start date. If things keep moving or there's reasons why you're delayed, we can manage those timeframes for you, which again just takes a lot of stress off you. And so, and the other thing, sorry, I just keep seeing it popping up. It's just caught my eye is that do I get a refund for the fee spent on moving to New Zealand? So I'm not sure if you maybe hadn't joined when we were talking about relocation packages, but just while we're talking about securing a job, the relocation package can vary. Most employers do offer them, but you won't get the money until you arrive in New Zealand. So they won't give you money up front. So you need those funds before to pay for your visa, your flights, if you're doing the shipping. And you want a bit of money in the bank for when you get here as well, just so you can set yourself up. And so you normally would get your relocation allowance in your first pay packet. So you really can't just rely on that. And I think that's a really good point. It's a bonus. It's a nice to have. But if you're thinking about moving, I just can't stress enough that it's important that you do think about those funds that you might need. But as I mentioned at the beginning, and I will say it again, what is really exciting is that nurses are now going to be getting a 14% pay rise, which is planned from the 7th of March, which is huge. I mean, it's like, never before have we seen this. And so, the government has stepped up, Ministry of Health, they're really looking after nurses in terms of giving that huge pay rise. So we're very excited about that, and we're very excited for you to be able to get here and be able to move into a role where there's such big pay increases. Robyn, is there anything else on that you can think of?
I think we have covered it, but by all means, please ask questions if you feel that there's something that we have missed. We're quite happy to come back to you on that.
Yes,
yeah,
definitely. And once we get your CV and and I think Jane has put up an email, nzhealth@workingin.com. So if you've got any specific questions, just feel free to email us and we'll come back to you. Otherwise, what we do is we take a look at all the questions that have been asked throughout the seminar, and we craft a series of responses and we send those through via email afterwards. So either way, you'll get the answer to your question. So now I'm just looking at time. Gosh, 4 minutes. Where does that time go? So I feel like I'm talking really fast as well, Robyn. I don't know about you. So visas and residency. We mentioned at the beginning that nurses can get straight to residence, which is very exciting. Actually, that was only announced probably might be 2 months ago now.
November.
Yeah, it's very recent. And so I don't want to get into visas too much here and make it complicated, but basically nurses are on a green list. It's called a green list. I guess green for go. And so that means that once you obviously need a job offer So actually, I should mention this, Robyn, I'm thinking now, is in order to arrive in New Zealand, so you'll need to have your registration, you'll need to have your job offer, and then only then have you got those two things, can you apply for a work visa, and that will be a temporary work visa. And once you've got that, then you can arrive in New Zealand, and then when you're in New Zealand, you can apply for Straight-to-Residency. The visa process generally only takes about 6 weeks to get your work visa. As I mentioned at the beginning, we've got quite a significant team of licensed immigration advisors. And so if you can, we do recommend you use one of our licensed advisors. I will add, there is a cost to our visa services. There's a lot of work that goes into somebody's application, but you get a consultation, and we help you get all the preparation together and managing that just to de-risk that whole process. We don't want you to get so far into the process and then not be able to secure a visa. There's been lots of different policy changes as well, so you can take advantage of our team. And particularly as well, if you're bringing family, you're bringing dependents, it's really important that you can look at that and understand from the get-go, your chances of being successful. And again, what we will do is we will send you a link when we do the follow-up email. If you want to, you can do an appraisal for the visa, and then we can organise a consultation with you with the visa team. So there's two things that we can do. We can do a recruitment consultant and we can do a visa consultant. Robyn, anything else on that? I feel like I just skimmed over that really quick. But
yeah, so important, Jo, that just the appraisals, obviously there's no cost there for you, so that just gives you a good indication before you proceed on. So it's a great thing to do.
Yeah, get that started. And again, it's all about that whole getting prepared. Okay, so I think we've covered the main topics, and we've really just given you a snapshot. And as I said before, we could talk for hours on this. There's so much information. There's so many different ways we can help and support you. So please do use that. I know that you can find a lot of information online, and it can be very confusing. What we advise is, if you do stick with us, is you create your plan, have your pathway mapped out, and just make it less confusing and get that support. And as we said, there's no charge for our recruitment service, and this is what we do every day. We'll try and find you the best job in your preferred location, that suits exactly what you're looking for, and negotiate the best package for you as well. So what are the next steps, Robyn? What we're recommending people do now?
Yeah, the next steps is, if obviously if you are really interested and you want to proceed further, is to get in contact with us with that CV. So get that CV done pretty quickly, and you can touch base with us, and our lovely Jane will help you start through the process. But like Jo said, it can seem super confusing. We try to make it as simple as possible, so take the stress out for you. We'd really love to help you if this is your goal to move over here, and we'd really love to have you here. It'd be great to see you.
Absolutely. Thanks, Robyn. So yeah, get your CV sorted, get onto the Nursing Council, and look at that CGFNS link to start that verification process. Once you've sent us a CV, we can set up a consultant meeting, consultation
with lovely Gina.
Consultation with Gina, and we can organise a visa appraisal for you. So let's just help you get all the ducks in a row, give you a time frame to work for. We can talk to you a bit more about the costs, yeah, basically, we're here to help. That's what we love to do. So hopefully you found that helpful. You'll see that the link to send your CV is going up on the chat right now. And also, I think Jane's posted a few times the email address, nzhealth@workingin.com, should you have any specific questions that you want to follow up with. And that's kind of over and out from us. We managed to keep almost to the 30 minutes. Thank you, Robyn. I'm going to go pack now. I'm going camping.
Yeah, go camping.
I'm going camping.
Have a great time.
I'm taking my son camping for a few days, so that'll be fun. And we'll look forward to hearing from you. I'm very excited about the possibility of meeting you at some stage and yeah, helping you get to New Zealand.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much.